Assalamu alaikum to everyone watching. Welcome back to AccidentalMuslims.com. Today we have with us Aasia Fredericks. Assalamu alaikum, welcome.
Walaikum salam. Thank you guys for having me. Big fan of the show. Waited for a very long time for Khalil to have me.
We're very, very happy to have you, finally. So we're going to get right into it.
Sure.
Who is Aasia Fredericks?
Aasia Fredericks is a girl from a small little town called Eldo Park in Joburg. We are known for two things: having Jacob Zuma come sort out our drug problem and having Fatuma South Africans. So, yeah, so that's where I'm from. I went to the German school as a kid because apparently I was smarter than my average fellow man, but that didn't last very long. But yeah, and I ended up finishing my schooling in Eldorado Park, so yeah.
Okay. So, how did you land in Cape Town?
My brother got married to a Cape Townian when I was 13. I saw the city and I fell in love with it. And I tried to convince my dad to send me to boarding school. Like, I knew Cape Town was in my future since then.
Okay.
Then with my work, an opportunity came up. I was hired specifically that should we get clients in Cape Town, then I would have to make a move for that. So that happened in 2014. And I'm 5 years away from being a proper Cape Townian, but you know, I know there's like a 10-year waiting period or something.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah. So I've heard.
We accept you. You're one of us.
I thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your childhood, growing up, schooling, parents, siblings.
Sure. As I'm the youngest of four, three older brothers. And my dad was like a local sheikh and my mum was a madrasa teacher. And she was also my preschool teacher, which meant schooling was an everyday thing for me, you know. I grew up in a very, very poor neighborhood. I mean, we didn't have money for meat, for things other people take for granted. I mean, I'll say it, I know my coffee snob friends will laugh, but I mean, back then, having coffee meant you were like, you know, higher class, you know. That was the stuff higher class people had and what that. And I mean, we were that poor and we didn't really know it, you know. I had a good childhood. I had lots of people around me. I came from a really amazing community. And because my parents were so heavily involved with the mosque and the schools and the madrasas and stuff, people would come to us. My mom would be the one, if people converted to Islam, to show them how to make wudu. If people died, my mom taught me how to be a tukamani. So as a kid already, those were the type of things we did. So we were very invested in the community. Schooling, I would say, was pretty average. I started reading when I was 3 years old, so I was a handful. Most of my teachers would tell you I was a troublemaker. I did make the school strike once or twice in high school. Sorry, Lancheville, but we got a fence. We got security at the school. Yeah, so I was very actively involved wherever I went. And like I said, I was considered a bit of a troublemaker because my father and him always taught me, if you can change things, do it. Don't wait for permission.
How was it growing up in a home where your father is the local imam and your mom as well, a madrasa teacher?
I'm very lucky. It wasn't, I can't say my dad was strict, or he wasn't strict in conventional ways, right? I mean, I was never someone who could go to a khadat or an event, like a family event, wearing jeans and like a really long top. He was always someone dressed for the occasion. So if you're going to mosque, wear an abaya, wear a kurta, you know, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I don't know what the difference would have been for other people. I could watch TV, I love dancing, and my mom would encourage it, you know, like the freedom of expression, freedom of movement, but never during the what, you know. So it's like, okay, you dance, finish now, now go read, you know. So balance. She would always go, oh, can I spend the whole day in Dhikr? And then I was listening to Stevie Wonder, you know, balance.
Yeah.
As long as the one doesn't replace the other. So I think I had a quite healthy childhood in that I was allowed to be a child. I was a raucous child, but it was fun, I think. Not so much for my brothers, but for me, absolutely.
So I'm very interested in the troublemaker, Aasia, as you called yourself.
As I've been called by many people.
So that kind of personality, being a Muslim girl in hijab with the Imam dad and all of that, what was
And an
that? Was it
opinion.
like the norm? Was it something?
I knew my parents were a little different. I mean, my dad and them had their own Khadajuma, and you know, just to get it, he was more like a sheikh rather than imam, so like,
Okay.
you know, a khalifa kind of
Yeah.
vibe. So when we go to Khadat, there was always one part everyone had to bring in, and just because I was a girl didn't preclude me from that. It's like, no, this is the butcher you bringing in, you know. And when we used to go to other places, they would go, why is your daughter sitting in the Khadat? She needs to sit with the other women. And my father would like go and he'd send my brother to fetch me out of the room and say, your place is here. So my father wasn't that patriarchal in that way. So it was really great, I think, because I grew up without limit, you know. So, and that's where the troublemaking comes in, is because you go against the grain, the way things are done. Girls are seen and not heard. And if people go, oh, women aren't allowed, then my father would go, you serve them tea. And I'd be like, salam, salam, make eye contact, salam.
I love it.
You know, so,
Yes.
yeah. And that sort of literally set me on my path. And now I get called other names, but pretty much still opinionated, don't do what you're doing vibe.
Okay, so how do you deal with that now?
I hope a little more classy than salam and eye contact. But I mean, I work in the digital space. I work in marketing. This is how I go to work. I work in a very male, European dominated space. So every time you walk into a room, you're already thought less of. You're a woman, so you don't know as much. Oh, you're a covered woman, so you're not as liberal, you know. And people don't realize this is for my protection, not yours. Like, this helps me filter myself rather than present a different image to you.
So your field, how do you? It's digital marketing.
Digital marketing,
How did you
social
get
media.
into that? What led you to that path?
Would you believe Excel?
Okay.
Yeah. When
Interesting.
back in the days when social media was still very new, we did what was called social listening. So we wanted to see how many people were talking about a specific subject, so you would have to search it yourself. And the best tools at the time could only download into Excel. I come from a publishing environment where I used to do royalties. So for anyone who's ever gone to high school and used the classroom maths textbook, I looked after the authors. And so I used to do the royalty contracts, calculate how much money they get. And when you're working with maths authors, they don't want you to calculate to 2 decimal points. They want like 5. You know, even though money you don't get like 3.256 cents, but you get what I'm saying. So because I was so fairly advanced in Excel at the time, I was introduced to Mike Stopforth. Most people would have known him from his column in the newspaper back then when he introduced Web 2.0 in a newspaper, right? Like physical newspaper. And I accompanied a friend to an interview, and she was struggling with something on Excel, and I did a few things, and he saw it and he was like, oh my God, like, can you do this with a lot of data? And that's how I got into online reputation management. So we used to do big telecommunications clients, the big red one. And we would do the data, say like, okay, you guys are pushing on your cell phone, but you've got 500 people complaining about the signal in Athlone, you know. So they would start taking that data going, hey, Athlone, we heard you don't have signal, so here's more antennas kind of thing. So that's how I got into Cerebra, and Cerebra was like the birthplace of social media and content management in South Africa. Almost everyone who worked at most of the other agencies was either started with at Cerebra or was affiliated with them. And so my journey went through different agencies, and now I'm client side. Instead of looking after 100 clients, I look after one.
Cool.
Interesting.
So all of the data was unstructured from
Yes,
the internet.
copying and pasting literally off the internet. When you could still do that. I mean, in a month you would look at maybe 300 mentions. When BlackBerry was launched, I know this is turning into more technical than me, but when BlackBerry was launched and suddenly everyone had access to the internet, we saw something as simple as rugby go from 150 mentions a month to like 2,000 mentions a weekend. You know, so you can actually say social media was brought to South Africa through BlackBerry. And yeah.
Interesting.
So you have kind of been on the forefront of, or when everything became big, so social media, watching it grow.
Absolutely.
That's quite interesting.
It is. It was also painful because, I mean, when we'd go to other companies to pitch for work, there was no one that says, oh, so-and-so is doing it and so-and-so is. we'd like you to be the first. Like, we're going to help you get there.
Yeah.
Where now everyone knows social media, you know. Where back then there was a lot of time spent convincing people that this is the future.
So what is your job entail right now? What is it that you do?
So for me, social media and digital marketing right now is everything. From a company perspective, is creating brand awareness about our company, running marketing campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns. We also use our social media channels. So I make the distinction. So LinkedIn is very much what we call B2B, so business to business. And our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, is more focused at retaining and showcasing our staff. So we've got different strategies to run both of those. I will also train social media into the call centers, so teach people social media, how to use that as a customer service channel. Very different to the times of, hey, buy a new phone, or hey, buy this dress. It's very different. So it's really great that I get to dabble in a number of these different subjects within social media, because it's no longer just one thing.
Okay. I find this very interesting. I don't think I've actually even spoken to someone in this line of work. For me, it seems very rare. I don't know if it is.
I want to say it is, but it isn't. But it's also, again, like, things have changed how we used to do it. Before, you had to run everything. You had to be the photographer. You had to be the content writer. Now you've got someone who specializes in content. You've got someone who specializes in moderation. You have designers and photographers that specialize in product photography and that kind of thing. So people work in the field, but not necessarily as an all-rounder. But there's a number of us out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What has been your greatest success in this line of work?
Oh.
If you can pick one.
Covering the World Cup, getting to do it for Sony. We all had to choose a team. I actually chose Argentina, but a friend of mine who's a diehard Argentina fan convinced me to swap for Spain, which was great at the end of the day, because Spain went through to the finals. So I got to go to all the matches from the group stages right through. I got to take photos and interview people and like experience that kind of chaos on like the best level ever. You know, because you're working for the agencies that are the sponsors, you basically have access to everything. So that was the best and the worst time of my life, because the matches were up until 11, 12 at night, and you've got to be in the office at 7 in the morning to do the write-ups and that kind of thing. I was shattered, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
What's been the greatest challenge?
Convincing people that a Muslim woman in a scarf can do stuff. You know, outside of a back office job, outside of a finance job. I mean, Khalil knows that worst kept secret. There was a time that I didn't have any work. I got retrenched and I had to sell alcohol. Turns out I was really, really good at it. Like, really, really good at it. It wasn't like a long-term plan. It was sort of like a get out of jail, like save my flat, buy food, have petrol kind of vibe. But it was easier for me to find work selling alcohol, because I got a name for it. Like, oh, you know, you should speak to that chick in the scarf. She's really good at selling whiskey, you know. So, yeah. So it was funny that people who sold alcohol saw more value in me than a lot of other brands or Muslim brands that I approached to, you know, because at some point all of us want to be our own business owners. And it's not always that easy. And you find that when people see you, they either mistrust you for wearing a scarf and you're not liberal enough to see the future of my brand, or that you're single and you're not going to have the same kind of commitment to my brand once you get married or have kids. So we always second guessed. And I think that was like more painful, I think, than anything else.
Did you go to university?
No.
You didn't?
I'm a scrapper. Well, yeah, I hustled my way to the top.
Okay,
I actually started as a security guard.
What?
In like a uniform, standing at the mall.
Wow.
So how did you...
That's the podcast.
Yeah.
So many questions.
It turns out it
Big
wasn't
one.
Excel that led you here.
No, I think there was a tenacity, and I mean, the problem with knowing more than a lot of people around you is that you see all these things that you can't have. Like I said, I grew up pretty poor. The only wish I ever had to today is the ability to get my degree. And it's the one thing I just can't seem to get to. For me, that was my epitome of success, you know, is getting a degree. Unfortunately, the circumstances around it didn't allow me to do that. And jobs were fairly scarce back in 99, 2000, when I finished my high school. Someone approached us, they were looking for security guards. I got my firearm license. I hate guns. Let me just put that out there. But
Really cool.
you know, I wore a baton. I felt badass. Like I had epaulets
You
and like
were
combat
badass.
boots, and like I was that
Yeah.
girl, you know. And from there, actually, they were like, "You shouldn't be outside. You should be in our control room. So here's a computer. Learn how to do these things. Put these things together." From there, I moved into like a sales job, cold calling. I hated that. Will never ever do sales again. Or sales like that. Let me rephrase. And then I sort of worked my way through. I learned a bit of accountancy. I got into a creditor's job at the publishing firm, and my boss saw something in me, and she trained me how to become a royalties administrator, how to put together contracts, how to work out royalties. And yeah, like, can't say I've had the same job twice. But I've always managed to level up, but it was tough. It's never easy. You're always fighting because people know your background, they know your history, and so they always tend to second guess you. So
That is awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
No,
wow.
genuinely, like,
Thank
mashallah,
you.
that's amazing.
Thank
you.
That's really, really amazing.
you know,
That's a super rare. I hope you know, like, how unique that story is.
I do, and I think I tend to forget it when telling it, because I tend to fall on the comedy to like, oh my god, you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm on a plane, you know, those kind of things, and then like suddenly you're in Fiji for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's surreal that in the last 15 years, I've gone from doing like 1,000 rand a month as a security guard to where I am today, you know. So that, I think that's my measurement of success, is that my salary manages month to month, and you know, I don't have to ask anyone for anything. I stand on my own 2 feet. So I might not have my degree yet,
Yeah.
you don't know.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think I've made it somewhat.
So within the field, because I know you spoke about it being a very male European dominated field, and so it must be tough. I'm sure it must come with a lot of challenges. What drives you? What is it that makes you get up in the morning and like, this is what I want to do?
I love the challenge. I think right now I'm in a position that with the company that I work with, I'm trusted a lot, and I'm given a lot of leeway to do things my way. And it's not something that just happened. I've spent the last 2 years putting down that kind. I don't want to say preparation. I didn't do it for that. You know, my personal philosophy, and it's maybe how I am Muslim, is that, you know, if this is where your rizq is coming from, if this is where your barakat is coming from, is you give everything to that. You know, if this is what Allah has given me to do, I'm not going to do it just to get by. So, because if I want barakat at the end of the day, I need to do more than average, you know. And every day I get up, every day I'm presented with a new opportunity. They're not always great opportunities. Sometimes they're crises. Things have gone wrong somewhere else in the world, and you know, I'm called on to be the consultant, the person to lead and give direction and give recommendations on how to do things. And I think what sets me apart is that I don't see myself as above the work. If we're working in a call center environment, I see nothing wrong with rolling up my sleeves and taking a call or doing the very same work. As far as I'm concerned, if it's halal, there's nothing demeaning about the work that you do. And you should always take pride in what you do. If you're cleaning someone's house, there's a barakat in that. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not stealing or hurting anyone by doing it, take pride in that job and don't let anyone make you feel less than, you know. I've had that happen a lot. And I've realized it's my job to filter out those voices, because I can be my own worst enemy. I know what I haven't achieved. So I don't have time to listen to you, you know. What Allah puts out for you, whether it comes in a drip or in a flood, what's meant for you is meant for you, right? So.
Cool. So not to give your age away, But I take it
38.
that you, oh wow.
Yeah.
So I mean,
On Sunday, by the way. So,
Hey,
all time.
Sunday past, Sunday
yes,
come.
Sunday past.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man.
Nice.
Khalil, you didn't remember.
I feel
One job for you.
Okay.
So I mean, I take it that you've seen a world without social media.
Yep.
And then you've seen it give the world like gave birth to social media, and
Yep.
you were there from the beginning and where it is now.
Yeah.
So
Make it sound like a dial-up connection. But I was there for dial-up, so yes, I'm probably that episode 8, season 3. That's where we are.
So what is your take on how it's evolved from where it started and where it is now?
I'm very excited for where it is. I think the ability it's given us to connect as a society is great. You know, people complain about stupid things that happen on social media. It happened at home. We used to rely on gossip and the newspapers to tell us what stupid things people were doing. So the fact that it happens online, number one, is not surprising for me. But it's part of our community, right? So the biggest part of social media for me is what we call community moderation, which is effectively what we do when we're in our friend circles, right? Is that if someone says something stupid, your friend should go do it, take that down. Or that's not something you should say online, right? And that's all we need to do. We're just evolving as an online community. So we should call out the bad things. We should call out our friends if they say stupid things or irresponsible things. You know, I mean, if we look at the gender-based violence, if we look at the Me Too movement, the naming and shaming, right? Where do you draw the line? How do you define someone's hurt when they finally find the voice to speak up, to be brave enough to speak out about things that have happened to them, but they also name the abuser? You know, so what do? Your job's not to shame them. If they legitimately can prove that this person has done something, that's up to them. What we should be doing, instead of lambasting people, I mean, what do they call it now? Cancel culture, right? Like, we're cancelling you, we're unfollowing you, we don't want to know about you, you know, that type of thing. So it's to move away from that and support the victims, as an example, you know. So that's a way we can moderate as a community. And that's a bad way, right? We look at influences as well. So many people talk about influence in a very negative light. But if you think about it, we all had that one friend who was really into cars and someone who was really into computers, right? And this is a very old example showing my age again. But you would go and you would say, what car should I get? You're the guy of the cars. And it's the same thing we do, and that's all influencers are. Ideally, they have worked to gain that status. So they should stick to their niches, right? There's a lot of travel bloggers and writers and fashionistas, and yes, there's a lot of hate that goes along with it. But I ask you this, we've all had that popular friend because they were pretty and they look nice. But did you ask them for their opinion on Islam? Why are you following these people, expecting them to be your guru? Because that's what we are doing as people. We don't see them as, oh, okay, that one only does clothes. So, oh yeah, if I want to see what's happening this season or what colors I should buy, that's the person. Why are you going to them for your Islam? Like, oh, you're not dressing Islamically enough, or as a Muslim, you shouldn't do that. We can't tell people how to live. And that's it's not the issue or the problem with social media. It's the bumps, you know, the growing pains that we have to go through. There's nothing wrong with influencers. Just don't sip the Kool-Aid so much. They are just there because they are popular for a specific thing. Don't go to a fashionista asking her for how you should tie your hijab, or how to read your salah, or what to ask to read. You get what I'm saying? Don't ask them for your life advice. If she's selling clothes, don't ask her what subjects you should be doing at university. You get what I'm saying? So.
And also, I mean, the social media, you have the option of who you want to follow, so no one's forcing you to
Unfollow.
Yeah.
This whole thing about like going after people's pages and my word, like how much time do you have exactly that you can follow all these people just so that you can tell your friends how crap they are at it? Makes no sense to me.
There is actually one of the questions someone had for you about the influencer culture. So I'm glad that you recovered it, because it was someone that asked about that.
Yeah.
And your view on that.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen some amazing. I've got a lot of friends who are influential in specific things, and I can tell you, if they are into lifestyle and someone says, "Oh, launch this car," they're like, "This is not what I'm good at. I can't tell a good car from a bad car, or what makes it economical." And my friends that are into tech won't do necessarily fashion, because they're going, "I don't care. I wear black shirts. That's all I wear. So it's an irrelevant thing for me." You know, so it's know why you're following them. And if they are legitimately good at what they do, absolutely. But again, remember why you're following them. These people shouldn't become, like I said, your gurus and your leaders. And yes, they call them followers, and I think that's where people get a little confused. I've got 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers. Doesn't make you a religion. So, and the same thing for influencers, right? Is don't berate other influencers. Do your thing. Do it really well, and leave no space for criticism for your work. You know.
Just wanna remind everyone watching that if there are any questions, please do send it to us on Instagram, and we
Sure.
can ask us. Yeah. Anything else before?
No, I would like to know if you have any mentors.
Any mentors?
Yeah.
I've got a few. I've got one of my old bosses, Jackie Pannell. While I worked for her, I thought she was the worst woman in the world because she didn't believe in showing you 100 times. She would leave you with the thing to learn it. And I hated working there. But it was because of her that I developed the Excel skills, learning how to do contracts and that kind of thing. And that's opened up an entirely new world to me. So she's someone, even though she's immigrated, when I do get the chance to travel now, alhamdulillah, for work, my current boss knows my mentor's in London. So he'll always get me a weekend over so that I can spend it with her. And if I have issues now, I can WhatsApp her and go, oh my God, this happened. Like, these people did this. And because she's fairly senior, so she always helps me to remember that. So that's one mentor. And then I've got a friend, a couple, I don't know if I can name them or not.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's my friends Nilfa and Razine. Islamically, for them, what they've shown me, how to live my Islam, and that it's none of anyone else's business. But what they've done is they've taken a lot of my anger from me. That way I used to get judged and say, yeah, you did this, you did that. And he's like, no, if you want people to forgive you, forgive them first, you know. So that's something that's really brought me closer in my Islam to God and to living better. And yes, I still have a super sharp tongue, but there's a lot of sabr and a lot of love in that now because they've just shown me how to look at things differently. So for me, that's it. And my brothers, God, I love them. I want to beat them most of the time, but I love them. And that's taught me unconditional love and loyalty, you know, is that no matter how upset we get with each other, if I need something, they're a phone call away. But also that we can talk through things, and I have no fears that I'm being judged while that's happening.
Are you older or?
I'm the baby.
Okay.
Yes. Not so baby anymore, but yeah.
I had a question which just slipped my mind.
Can I follow up on that question?
Sure.
So many people would have mentors. To those who don't, what advice would you give them in selecting one?
That's a difficult one, right? So the first thing I would say is find the things you absolutely suck at and find people who are really, really good at it. Whether that is in how you interact with people, how you speak, how you work, the type of work that you do, is find someone who's really good, then humble yourself and say, I suck at this, please will you help me do this better, you know, and put in the work. Don't think a mentor is a nanny or a babysitter, right? They're there to assist you, but you have to do the work. You still have to do self-reflection, find flaws, and help them with it. Like say, this is what I think I'm struggling with, and they'll go, no, actually, this is what you're struggling with. But it's just that that's your first step, right? And take the hard advice. Initially, you can't tell the difference between someone who's giving you practically good advice and someone who's saying it to be malicious. Take the advice anyway, right? Try it. If you're young enough, go through the motions of trial and error, because that's the only way you're going to realize what works for you, who works for you, right? I'm someone, I can take a lot of criticism, but that's because I'm very sarcastic, so I can deal with that kind of harshness. But I know some people do need a softer touch, so, and don't be afraid to ask for it. You know, you're not always going to get it, but that's the big difference. In both these instances, the thing that comes forward is that you need to identify and ask for that help. I currently mentor three girls, and
Okay.
I follow up with them once a quarter, but it's their job to message me if they need something, you know. So, and I've made that clear from the outset, is that this is what I'm going to do. This is the role I'm going to play. If you need me, this is what we're going to do. So that's what I do.
I remember my question. You're speaking about your touched on an Islamic aspect. So I want to ask you, do you have any favorite verses or surahs?
I do. Surah Rum. But I always get it wrong, so I'm not going to read it in Arabic. I suck at Arabic. So I have... Bismillah
Do you have a
ar-Rahman
mentor
ar-Rahim.
for Arabic?
Hmm?
Do you have a mentor for Arabic?
Not yet. I've tried. I went to a class where they made me wear niqab and... Can I read my ayah now?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so it's verse 60 from Al-Rum, and it says, "So have patience, O Muhammad. Allah's promise is the very truth, and let not those who have no certainty make thee impatient." And for someone who's been retrenched as many times, always hustled that many times, the thing you realize is have patience. So sabr, sabr is good for you.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read one of the questions
Sure.
that someone sent. So someone asked, I don't know if you saw it. She tagged you and asked.
Safia Suji.
Yes, did you see the question? Do you remember that?
Yes. So what happens when social media dies and people still want to market their business?
Yeah, so
Not verbatim, but the gist of it, right?
she speaks about that. Yeah, BBM was such a hit initially, and now they're pretty much dead. If mainstream social media, as we know, it dies, what do you think will be the big next thing? And then there's a second question.
Okay. So I don't think there's going to be a big next thing, right? So the same advice I would give small businesses now with social media and whether any new platforms come up, right? Because there's a new platform coming up every other week. Is choose your platforms. If you don't sell a visual item, choose which platforms you're going to go on. You don't need a blog, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook for every single thing. Facebook has sort of become the website of Web 3.0, right? If you don't have a Facebook page, are you even a real business? So the idea is, and it's more prevalent now than anything else, is what we call client engagement, right? Your CX, the experience they have with your brand. Where can they find you? How do they speak to you? Where can they get hold of you? So we can look at Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but if you don't respond on these pages, if you don't respond on a WhatsApp, that delegitimizes your business. So it's not about being on every platform. It's saying, does this platform have value for me? And is there something that I need to be on? If I use our company as an example, we are a business-to-business company. So for us, being on social media was almost irrelevant. But if we want people to see how our staff get along or what exciting things they do, it's a different way of doing it. So don't think you have to do the same, what we call a spray and pray approach. Do the same thing on every platform and hope that something comes. So it doesn't matter the platform. Make sure that you're engaging your clients where they are. If your clients are SMSing you and they're not going on your WhatsApp or your Facebook, then make sure that that's where you are. Does that answer?
Okay. Is there any other questions? Okay. We have a lightning round that we're gonna do with you.
Okay. Just don't pick up the Arabic again.
Okay, so how this works is I say an incomplete sentence and then you complete it with the first thing that comes into your head.
I'm going to try not to swear or say do bad things.
Okay.
Bismillah.
Allah is.
Everything.
Love is.
Family.
The world needs.
Love.
Happiness is.
Homemade.
Success is.
What you define it as.
Being a Muslim to you means.
Being the best version of myself for other people.
Leadership is.
Service.
And Islam for you is.
Peace.
Cool.
I didn't swear once.
You
Well
didn't?
done.
Progress. Progress. Yeah.
What do you define success as?
Living life on your own terms. If someone thinks success is having the best car and the best house and the best whatever, 3.2, 2.5 kids or whatever. If that's not what your vibe is, like, what is the best version of yourself? What is the best? For me, as I said, I can tell you as an 18-year-old, the only thing I ever wanted to do was to be able to afford a book. One book a month, that's all I ever wanted to do, was have enough money to buy a book. From April to yesterday, I read 78 books. So that's my definition of success, right? Is however you define it and living that. Yeah. So I loved reading, but I couldn't afford to buy my own books. So 78 books.
We have a book club. If you'd like to join. No, we really do. Yeah, that would be cool. You could join.
Awesome.
So I think interestingly in your line of work as well, what is it that concerns you about the youth?
That they aren't taken seriously, both by their peers and by themselves. From their peers, I think we tend to underestimate them just because they haven't had to hustle as hard or struggle as hard as, particularly if I use myself as an example, right? So my lived experience is we think, he never had to hustle, he didn't know what it was like to not have enough money for a book or whatever. Is don't let those things define you. If we teach our kids, if we teach our youth love and respect, to love and respect everyone, whether it's a random child on a street or someone begging at the robot, if you treat them with the same kind of respect, we change the world that way. When you start looking at people and seeing them, and that's a problem with people my age, is we don't see the youth as adults. We don't see them as people who can make a difference, even though they're showing us online, right? But it's still them, those others, those people there far, that are doing these things. We don't see our own kids, my nieces, my nephews, we don't see them as fully functional adults who can actually take on a lot more than we think they can manage. For themselves is that they think they don't have a voice or that they are disenfranchised. And that's sad for me, is because I know what I got to do, the things, the great stuff and the not so great stuff, getting arrested for striking at the school kind of thing, But I always knew I had a voice, and I had my parents with that to say, when you see injustice, speak up, right? And it's something that still gets me into trouble a lot now, because I will call out my friends, I will call out my family. I've been blacklisted from a few family events, but because I genuinely have that courage of conviction about what I do, and so I make sure that I live my beliefs. It's not something I say or spout or hashtag on Twitter. I live it. That's my lived experience every day. Is give dignity to everyone you meet, whether that's the tea lady, the beggar, the cashier in the store, and you will see immediately how they respond to you and what a difference that makes.
What excites you about this?
What excites me, the possibilities of how the world is changing, the global footprint, the ability that they can see the world, that they can do so many different things, and they don't have the same hang-ups as we do. We don't go, oh, can we do that? They go like, okay, let's do that. And you go, oh, can we do that? As a kid, we would, to use a practical example, you go somewhere and you see jumping castle. We'd go, Mom, can I go on the jumping castle? They'll go, jumping castle, and just sort of go for it. And it's an oversimplification of what I mean, but it's that they don't believe that, I don't know what it is, but there's no need to seek permission for certain things. There's respect, there's honoring your elders, but we've done a lot of that permission vibe then was actually necessary back in our day, and they don't have that hang up. So once they realize that power, and if they can channel it for good, it's going to be amazing.
So what advice do you give for parents who have the child who's I wouldn't say troublemaker, because I don't think it's an apt description of yoga, maybe change maker. Okay. I'm not going to use the word
hashtag marketing. It's not troublemaker, it's a change maker. I like it.
What kind of advice would you give for those parents?
Helping channel that power for good. They say to that bossy girl, keep showing those leadership skills. Those people who seem stubborn, is stick to your ideals, but help them to reason with it. Teach them how to reason. So don't see it as a downfall when they have that kind of personality, or the strength of personality is help them channel that in a way that works for them, instead of you trying to kill the personality to get them to behave a certain way. take away what's energetic, takes, because people go, oh, but it's so tiring. What's tiring? Managing his energy, or is he being rude? And are you getting sleepless nights from it? Is differentiate between the two. I can tell you, I was that crazy little child, and then my parents introduced me to books, and that kept me busy practically most of my time. I found something to do that captivated my imagination, that I didn't need to move from toy to toy or thing to thing to find that kind of joy. So.
And then on the flip side, what kind of advice would you give to the youth who is specifically, I think, who then find themselves in a difficult situation, whether financially or lack of support or anything like that, or not sure where they're heading?
Oh, that's a tough one, right? Because the type of struggle you face is different, right? Is it a mental one? Is it an emotional one? Is it a financial one? Know that you're not defined by your circumstances. You're not defined by the people around you. You're not defined by your location where you stay, right? Those are things you can't help. But what you can change is how long you let it define how you behave, what you do, right? All of us have a sad story or a struggle story or something bad that's happened to us. What's different is how we react to it. So bad things happen, deal with it. Don't let it be the thing that pushes you in the wrong direction all the time. Don't use the, I come from a bad neighborhood. Don't do that. Work through it. Overcome it. And that doesn't mean you need to have a fancy job. Just a job. Just start there. Earn some money. Find dignity in spending your time doing something that gives you something back. And from there, once you have that little money, once you sort of had a taste of what that world is like, decide where you want to go and hustle the hell out of it until you get there. I did it. I was the chick at game who checked your bags. Now I go to Fiji.
So where to from here for you?
Tonight?
No,
Just
no, like, or like
you could answer both if you want.
After this, it's to bed because I have a 4:15 start every day. What's next for me is definitely spending more of my time in service. I haven't had much of an opportunity. After my retrenchments, trying to get back on my feet, a lot of the time I spent just sort of keeping things together. Alhamdulillah, I think I'm on an even footing again. So next year, more than just my personal development in terms of my skills, I'm now going to do design work. I'm going to see what that takes me or where that takes me, inshallah. But most of my time will be spent in service of others, hopefully. There's a few places that I have in mind, and hoping to use my powers for good. So
we believe you'll make a success.
Ameen.
3 words that describe you.
3 halal words.
You go for whatever.
No, easy, friend, home.
Home.
Yeah. I think a lot of my friends who come to my place always describe it as they feel like they're home. So I want to be that to my people. Is a place of home for them, that no matter where you are or who you are, you don't have to be blood related, that if you need that from me, it's something I know I can easily give. Come to my house. There's always tea and samosas or ice cream. Start with food and we work our way out from there.
What's your favorite dish? Favorite food?
It depends. When I miss home, my mom's home, that's baked bean curry and bread and butter. When I miss my parents, it's curry khichdi, aloo fry, masala steak.
Yes. Favorite food.
And when I'm bowling, it's sushi. So it just depends. Oh, even peanut butter and jam with a cup of Rick coffee. Yes, I don't drink real stuff anymore, but I love Rick coffee. So Rick coffee, peanut butter and jam. So those are like my favorite. These are a few of my favorite things. Those are like my foods, man.
What are you most grateful for here?
In general, or like?
Most grateful for, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
For my life, for every experience that I've had. When I got too big, I got humbled, reminding me not to forget that. So yeah, I think every experience that's come my way, you know, to use the cheese line, there's a blessing or a lesson in everything. So find what that is for you, you know. So alhamdulillah, the last few years have been more lessons than blessings. But in the lessons, there's blessings too.
Yeah.
So how deep is that?
Super deep. Do you want to ask the most important question?
Oh God.
Before we
The
get
make or
there,
break one.
you've mentioned a few times that you've gone overseas.
Mm.
So tell us a bit about that. That 3 months where every week you were in a different country.
Yes. So we've got locations in a number of different countries, and they decided to give me an around the world trip to do.
And around the world.
Well, we call it around the world because we're on every continent except Antarctica, right? So I had to go to each of our offices to do work and training in each of them. So traveling while Muslim, I got security checked with every single flight. Like I said, I'm convinced it's the halal food option. And we'll do the Asian vegetarian next time, inshallah. So I got to do England, Germany, Malaysia, Australia, Fiji. It was intense, right? So you fly every weekend, and Monday you go to work, and then Friday you leave work, Saturday you fly again, kind of vibe. But yeah, I mean, did security guard ask everything she'd find herself there? No. And yet here she is, you know. So so for work I've got to travel quite a bit, and usually like very short notice. I usually get like 4 or 5 days. But this one, at least I knew was happening. But my previous trip, I was given like a week's notice. So you can't even say to go, I'm going to go shopping in Malaysia and be like those people you see on Instagram, #influencers. But also Malaysia doesn't cater for plus size. So I'm just putting it out there. Like, don't go buy clothes there. She can go buy clothes, me not so much. I traveled. I found a plus size store in Malaysia, but it was like 3 provinces over. But I went. I spent my money so that I could also go to shop in Malaysia. I bought nice things. Sorry, because it's like all parts of me, right? So, plus size is a big deal for me. Every time these guys go, oh, you must come to our lodge. I'm like, do you do plus sizes? Then no. Like, if you don't get from, I'm not going to come there and push your product. You see, that's what I was talking about, influencers. Is if it's not your jam, don't do it.
So coming to the most important question of our interview, when you're ordering a pizza, do you have pineapple on it?
Haram. Fruit is fruit. Are you also one of those people who put mangoes in your curry? Or raisins?
Prunes.
You see? No. If you want sweet things, have dessert.
Am I winning?
No, I think we're even now.
Oh. We need one more than off the spin.
Yeah.
Ever on your pizza?
No, I'll eat apple plain. Just don't put it on my... No.
What's wrong with you people?
No. So to be fair, I only eat margarita pizzas.
Oh.
Anything else is haram too. So,
Okay.
so just
It's tomato on margarita.
marinara, not tomato. Marinara sauce. No real tomatoes.
Chili cheese, mushroom, garlic. You don't.
Chili cheese fries. Mushroom risotto. Garlic bread.
Wow. Okay. Very specific.
I like my food.
Okay. So, anything? We good? Okay. Cool. So, any final words for if today was your last day on Earth? What would be your final words?
Such a depressing question.
What would be your final words to people? You see, it is.
I was gonna say like la ilaha illallah.
Okay.
Like I hope that's what I'm gonna go out with. Oh, salam.
No, but to everyone watching, what would be your
Goodbye, cruel world. Have more plus size stores and don't put pineapple on your pizza. Those would be my final words.
You sure?
100%. Or chicken tikka forever. One of those.
Okay. Okay. Then that's it. Shukran so much for being here. You're super inspiring, I must tell you.
Thank you.
It was very different and very
I
interesting.
said I passed my bedtime for you guys.
Yeah, okay.
But the time
Thank
really
you.
flew,
It
right?
did go really
Wow,
fast.
shocked.
And yeah, all the success
Inshallah.
inshallah.
Amen. And to everyone listening, I hope you find some sort of benefit. Use my life as a lesson for your blessings.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace.